All right, today we are diving into a problem that is, both a personal frustration for so many of us and a massive national challenge. The quest to get a reliable mobile signal into every single corner of the UK. Let's dig in.
You know the feeling, right? You're driving down a country road right in the middle of an important call, and then nothing. Or maybe you're out hiking in some stunning landscape, you pull out your phone, and you're in a total digital black hole. It's more than just annoying, it's a huge infrastructure puzzle for the entire country.
So, these signal dead zones, they actually have an official name, not spots. Now, a total not spot means there's zero signal from any network. A partial not spot, well, that's that classic situation where your friend has full bars and you've got absolutely nothing. And that difference is really at the heart of the whole problem we're going to explore.
So, how do you even begin to fix a problem this big? Well, it all really boils down to two fundamental building blocks. Let's take a look. Think of it this way. You've got the masts, those are the physical lighthouses, beaming out the signal. And then you have the spectrum. That's kind of like the invisible highway the signal travels on. You absolutely have to have both, and they have to be working together perfectly. Otherwise, your phone is basically just an expensive paperweight. And you've definitely seen these masts around, even if you don't always notice them. You've got the huge greenfield lattice towers you see out in the countryside, the more subtle streetworks poles along the side of the road, and the ones that are almost hidden, the rooftop antennas you find on top of city buildings. Each one is a specific tool for a very different environment. Okay, with those basics in mind, let's turn back the clock a little bit to the first really big attempt to tackle this problem head-on. It was a project called the Mobile Infrastructure Project, or MIP for short.
The plan, way back in 2011, sounded pretty ambitious. £150 million to build nearly 600 new masts in the UK's most remote spots. But this timeline kind of tells the story, doesn't it? The project ran into some major headwinds, and by 2016, it was over. So what was the final score?
The final number was 75. Yeah, a long way from that original goal. But, for the 7,000 homes and businesses that got a signal for the very first time, it was an absolute game changer. So it wasn't a total failure, but it definitely revealed a huge flaw in the strategy. And if there was one massive takeaway from the whole experience, it was crystal clear. The government just couldn't solve this problem by itself. To really connect the whole country, they needed the mobile networks to be real partners in the project, not just contractors they hired. In that lesson, it paved the way for something much bigger and, honestly, a lot smarter, the Shared Rural Network, or the SRN.
And when I say bigger, I'm talking about a £1 billion partnership. This time, it wasn't just government money being thrown at the problem. Nope. The UK's 4 big mobile operators were all in, co-funding the whole thing right from day one.
Now, the goal of the Shared Rural Network was seriously audacious. Get 4G coverage to 95% of the UK's landmass. And the incredible news? They've already done it. They actually hit the target ahead of schedule. This chart right here, it shows you exactly what that success looks like in real terms. Before the SRN kicked off, 4G coverage from at least one operator stood at 91%. Today, we're knocking on the door of 95%. That is a massive chunk of the country that is newly connected. But, and this is a really important but, this is where it gets interesting. See, getting a signal from at least one network is great, but getting a signal from all 4, well, that's a whole other challenge. Just look at the numbers for Scotland. Only 66% of the land is covered by every single network. This table shows you exactly where the next big fight is going to be. Now, while the SRN is a fantastic success story, we do need a little bit of a reality check here. Building these kinds of nationwide networks is incredibly difficult. And to really understand how hard, we need to look at another huge project, the Emergency Services Network. So this is the project that's meant to replace the entire radio system for all of our emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, the lot. So far, it has cost a jaw-dropping £2 billion. And don't just take my word for it. Listen to what the National Audit Office had to say in 2023. They said the Home Office has spent some £2 billion on ESN since 2015, but is a long way from having a functioning network. That's a pretty powerful reminder of just how complicated these things are.
Look, the point here isn't to point fingers. What the Emergency Services Network story really hammers home is that building a nationwide mission-critical network, one that absolutely cannot fail, is just one of the most complex and expensive things a country can possibly try to do.
So, we've come a really long way. We've seen the struggles, we've celebrated the success. But what about that final stretch? What does the road ahead actually look like? Hitting 95% is a monumental achievement, seriously. But that last 5%? That is a whole different beast. Each new percentage point of coverage you try to add gets exponentially harder and way more expensive to achieve.
So, what's left on the to-do list? Well, you've got to reach those extremely remote highland-type areas. Then there's the big policy debate that keeps coming up about rural roaming. Should networks be forced to share their masts in these areas? And on top of all that, there's the next great ambition, getting nationwide 5G to all populated areas by 2030.
The journey has been pretty remarkable, right? From the early struggles of the MIP to the huge success of the shared rural network. But as we start to push into those last, most difficult corners of the country, it really makes you ask the question, is 100% coverage even possible? Or will the not spot, in some form or another, always be with us?